Uh, yeah, this suitcase is a little security blanket. Take it everywhere I go, and planning a little trip after this little speech. Like many people, I remember the first time that I ever rode a bicycle. I mean, really rode a bicycle, right? On my own, totally unassisted. Sure, I'd been given lessons before. The awkward kind of push and release on a grass field, right? But those rides always seem to fall a little short. So when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I decided to take matters in my own hands. And I found this slightly downhill driveway, and I actually learned how to balance by coasting with my feet slightly off to the side on this pink tasseled beauty that I called Snow White. It was a solid evening of coasting before I decided to put pressure on the pedals. And when I did, it was magic. Total freedom. Later that night, I went back home and I told my parents that I had taught myself how to ride a bicycle. And I don't think that they really believed me. It was either that or they just had other more important things on their mind. For them, and I think for a lot of people, riding a bicycle will always remain just a trivial part of childhood, right? Kind of like screaming for no reason or playing tag, right? But for me, it was a total epiphany, right? So as a latchkey kid with immigrant parents trying to struggle to survive, the bicycle became my nurturer. It became my tool of discovery. When I was in elementary school, I would literally disappear for hours riding my bike through some, I guarantee, very interesting parts of Los Angeles. By the time I was in junior high, I was given this yellow Schwinn varsity 10-speed bicycle, right? And I learned how to shift, and I learned how to change a tube. And then me and my brother and my cousins, we actually rode our bikes from Los Angeles all the way down to San Diego. I think I was like 13 years old or something. From that point on, I rode my bike almost every single day. I was totally obsessed. I had fallen in love. Today, my job, my title, whatever, I'm the director of sports science and technology for the Radio Shack professional cycling team. I got my PhD at the University of Colorado, learning everything I could about sorority girls and elite human performance. I've coached countless of riders all over the world to national titles and world titles and Olympic medals and professional wins, right? I've ridden with a presidential candidate, and I've even ridden with the guy who beat him. I've even had the really unique experience, it's a very unique experience, of working with both Floyd Landis and with Lance Armstrong, two of only 3 Americans to have ever won the Tour de France. People tell me that I have the dream job, and I agree, I have my dream job. I'm very thankful and very grateful. Ever since watching Greg LeMond win the 1986 Tour de France with this guy John Tesh playing piano in the background, I don't know if you remember that. I've been totally enamored by the Tour. I've always dreamt about being a part of the Tour de France, right? I've idealized the Tour ever since I was a kid, and I still do today. In fact, I've built my whole entire professional career around the Tour de France, around that dream, right? Because it was the only thing big enough that I could find to legitimize my passion. So here's the deal. When you're a kid and you're riding your bicycle everywhere and you're going to get comic books and chewing gum, etc., that's a normal part of childhood play, right? That's a normal part of being a child. But the Tour de France, being a part of that race, that's what adults do. That's a career. That's a special. That's a great way of showing how ambitious you are, right? But here's the problem. Ambition is a very easy thing to hide behind until one day you realize it's all you have, until that childhood bicycle starts to become this fuzzy memory in your head, and you start to ask yourself, what happened, right? Because here's the reality. The reality is, ever since my first Tour de France, I really actually haven't ridden my bike at all, right? Instead, I've traded my bike in for this suitcase. And this suitcase, it's a powerful excuse. It represents my world now. It represents endless days on the road. It represents being stuck on the tarmac for hours at a time. This picture here that you see, I took like literally in a panic attack, 3 hours into sitting on the tarmac during a snowstorm at DIA. The suitcase also represents a lot of sleep on the bus, right? You get it whenever you can. It represents that endless pursuit for the next win, which is my job now. It's my responsibility. It's my dream. Because right now, I'm an adult, right? And this suitcase, literally, for the people who know me, this suitcase is always packed. I'm always ready to go, to suffer, to endure, to sacrifice, just like the riders that I coach, right? And yeah, I find it really ironic. I find it ironic that my work in professional cycling actually keeps me from riding. But you know, if you think about it, I think about it all the time, it's actually a pretty small thing. Because like most of us chasing the dream, I've forsaken a lot more. I've forsaken relationships and my health and plenty of happiness pursuing the dream. So I find it kind of strange, a little awkward, maybe unfair for me to get up here on the stage and talk to you about the benefits of cycling, which was my original intent, when I can't even really figure a way to do it myself, right? And yeah, they tell me there are benefits, and I actually did a bunch of research, and I put together all these facts and figures together, and I was going to wow you guys with what von Huth-Smith et al. Said and what Woodcock et al. Said, but I think it comes down to a couple of points, and these are real points. Point number one, you're just going to live longer, right, if you ride a bicycle instead of driving a car. There's plenty of evidence for that. Point number two, driving sucks. Right? An hour a day in your car, that corresponds to a 6% increase in likelihood of being obese, right? A person driving in their car breathes 60% more carbon monoxide compared to somebody who's got a ventilation rate 2 to 3 times that riding in traffic, right? And you know, the bottom line is I've never seen someone happy driving their car, right? The next point is that we're lazy, guys. We are really lazy. Do you know that 25% of the time we spend in our cars is actually for the US average 14-mile commute, whereas 50% of the time that we spend in our car are for trips of 3 miles or less, right? 3 miles or less. That's how we spend our time. My last point is that not riding is expensive. Right? If we shifted to riding our bikes instead of driving our cars, the amount that we would save in terms of social infrastructure would be about 50 cents per mile. Oregon saves about $2 billion per year because they ride more than the rest of the country. Annual cost of being obese is about $5,000 for a woman, $3,000 for a man. Right? Every pound that we increase the average weight of the American, we increase fuel consumption by 40 million gallons. Last year, we wasted like 1 billion gallons of gasoline, 1 billion gallons of gasoline because we're too heavy. And we spend a lot on transportation too, right? $8,000 to maintain your car, $300 to ride your bicycle, right? Maybe that's why like a health insurance company like Humana is investing in the Denver B-Cycle program. Maybe it's gotten to a point where actually investing in prevention is financially smarter than chronic illness, right? But I'll stop here. You know, we've heard so many facts and figures tonight, right? And in my mind, knowing doesn't always help, right? As much as I love to ride a bicycle, right? I've got my career, and it's my one shot to make it. Right? And I've got this baggage now, right? And I've crafted this entire lifestyle, right? And it's a lifestyle, and it won't let go. Or maybe I won't let go. You know, my job is to try to help people be the best that they can, to push the boundaries of human possibility. People are always asking me, what's the secret? You know, what's the magic sauce? Whatever. They're always asking me about training and nutrition and latest innovation, but you know what the truth is? The truth is there are no shortcuts, right? When Fausto Coppi, the great Italian cyclist who had won 1949 and 1952 Tour de France, was asked how to be a champion, his response was really simple. He said, just ride just ride, just ride, right? It was something that I remembered at last year's Tour de France. Lance, on stage 8, into the city of Morzine, he suffered this devastating crash, right? And I knew at that point this race was totally over. We weren't going to win, his 8th Tour de France, and it had been an obsession up to that whole entire point, and in a second it was just gone. And knowing that and watching Lance struggle to get back on his bicycle to finish that stage, the only thing that I could think of were the words of Kopi: just ride, just ride, just ride, right? And out of that mantra, what I realized was that all I wanted to do was just ride, right? And so I sat down one day trying to figure out how to make that happen, trying to figure out how to take down all of the barriers in my life that prevented me from riding. And the really crazy thing is that just in that process, right, my life started getting better, and I hadn't even gotten on the bicycle yet. Just having that simple goal of wanting to just ride, right? And so what I'm really just here to tell you guys tonight is to just ride, right? Better yet, I challenge each of you not to just ride, but to reignite whatever passion lies dormant within you, right? Because it's in there. And forget about what Yoda said too. This is not do or die, right? It's not like you're trying to levitate some X-Wing fighter out of the marsh using only the Force, right? All I'm asking you to do is to try, right? Put a little sliver in there and try, right? Because I know that even if you never get on a bicycle, that the problems that you will solve in your own life by trying will be much bigger than the ride itself, right? Like most great goals in life, it's really not about the winning and the losing, right? It's about the journey. It's about the open road that lies ahead of us, right? So just ride, just ride, just ride. Because if it was a good idea when we were kids, then maybe, just maybe, it's a better idea now that we're adults, right? So I'm going to make all of you a promise. This next year, I'm going to try. I'm going to take my excuse, I'm going to take my baggage, and I'm going to try to create a solution. And in the spirit of all things American, hold on a second. Hold on, it's a big solution. In the spirit of all things American, my solution, you got it, it's a bigger suitcase. All right, and I'm going to take this suitcase. I'm going to open this thing up. Hopefully, I'll find a good answer. But you never know. I could actually be really crazy, like they said. And yeah, the answer was yes. And I'm going to pull out of this suitcase all of my love, my sweet little precious, and all of my fear. This is actually kind of scary doing this in front of all you guys. And all of my trouble, and all of my joy. All right? And I'm going to build myself one answer, right? I'm going to try to ride my bike as much as possible. And this doesn't mean that I'm going to quit my job or leave my baggage behind. In fact, I'm definitely taking it with me. I always do. It goes with me everywhere. And when they ask me where I'm going, I'll probably tell them what I always tell them, because it's the only place I ever spend my time, and it really depresses the crud out of me. I'm going to tell them I'm going to the airport.
why did I tell these guys to just take the bus? I got a little cramp.
Passengers should check with their air carrier for further information. Access to the concourses is limited to ticketed passengers only. Arriving passengers and visitors, please meet your parties at the appropriate bag.